Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Laura Prada from the Telesur studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Human rights groups in Guatemala have applauded the Constitutional Court for overturning the government's decision to expel a United Nations-backed anti-corruption mission from the country. Activists gathered in front of the court to support the ruling and the work of International Commission Against Impunity. Activists say the lack of governance and growing corruption have contributed to the increase in the number of people leaving Guatemala in hopes of a better future.
The International Commission Against Impunity has to return because it's clear the existence of an illegal body and clandestine security apparatus that is part of a mafia economic political network embedded in the places you've already seen and that have been self-confessed.
Our correspondent in Guatemala City, Mario Rosales, has more details.
The Constitutional Court has announced a resolution to suspend the decision of President Jimmy Morales to end the agreement with the United Nations-backed International Commission Against Impunity. 4 judges voted in favor as the court's president, Dina Ochoa, voted against it. There are still questions of whether President Morales will follow the court's resolution, which allows the members of the UN Commission to continue investigating and working in the country. The commission was established in 2006 with the authority to conduct independent investigations and work with the country's prosecutors. It has often clashed with Morales, whose National Convergence Front is close to military officers responsible for many human rights violations during the country's civil war.
Now, President Morales will likely legal actions for his decision to expel the anti-corruption mission.
The Constitutional Court of Guatemala has presented legal actions against President Jimmy Morales after the agreement with the International Commission Against Impunity illegal. Legal experts say the president did not follow proper legal parameters to make such a decision.
President Morales broke international public law because he didn't follow the Vienna Convention of Legal Rights and Treaties. He had 12 months to file a complaint, and he did not fulfill the fundamental principles of this law.
The Constitutional Court ordered Jimmy Morales to allow the UN Commission to continue with their investigation. Social leaders say he's disobeying the highest legal institution of the nation, which they consider to be a crime.
No one is above the law. We must submit to the Constitution and to the legal system. We ask President Morales to reconsider the situation and not to continue sinking the country's sovereignty.
In the country's recent history, no president has disobeyed a resolution from the Constitutional Court. In 2018, President Morales said he would allow the UN Commission to carry out an investigation until September 2019. Different social sectors think it's unreasonable to expel the Commission before the established deadline.
The law must be imperative, and that means that no one is above it. Even a president with popular support cannot break the Constitution. We need boundaries. We can't break our legal system.
Guatemala signed an agreement with the UN in 2006 to create an international commission against impunity to operate in the country. This is the first time that a commission investigated the family of a president, in this case, the family of Jimmy Morales.
And now to Venezuela, where the Bolivian President Evo Morales arrived to the country to attend the swearing ceremony of President Nicolás Maduro. Morales was greeted by Venezuelan officials. Then he stated his support for the Venezuelan government, in particular against U.S. interventionism and the importance of the revolutionary process across Latin America.
We have a historic responsibility to defend our democratic processes, our revolutionary processes, revolutions based on voting and the will of our people. It saddens me to see that imperial powers are still trying to make us fight with each other, be it with Bolivians, Latin Americans, Venezuelans. But as a people, we have the obligation to defend our independence, our sovereignty. So we salute this revolutionary people, the children of Bolivar, the children of Chavez. We have come to defend our liberation.
And just a day before Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is to take office for his second term, he outlined his diplomatic policies and vision for his people in the coming years. Maduro strongly condemned the self-proclaimed Lima group, calling them a cartel and saying that what they are doing is illegitimate. He also gave the group a 48-hour ultimatum to ratify the refusal of his new government.
All the members of the Lima cartel received this diplomatic protest where we demand rectification of their positions on Venezuela in 48 hours, or the government of Venezuela will take the most urgent and crude diplomatic measures to defend the integrity, sovereignty, and dignity of our nation. 48 hours. The governments of the Lima cartel to rectify their interventionist and rude policy. The government of Venezuela has clearly alerted the governments of the Lima cartel, saying that if they do not rectify their position on the Venezuelan jurisdictional sea and its pretended position of delivering that sea by public declaration to the Republic of Guyana, we will take the strongest measures that are possible in diplomacy. We have talked clearly. This is unacceptable for our people.
And Maduro also expressed his willingness to dialogue with United States President Donald Trump, despite a hostile attitude from him and previous U.S. governments.
I believe in dialogue. I hope the United States of America abandon its policy of complot, conspiracy, and aggression against Venezuela. And I hope President Donald Trump rectifies his mistakes and those made by Barack Obama against Venezuela. And we start sooner than later a respectful dialogue, a high-level dialogue with an open agenda, to walk towards a relation of cooperation, joint work. This is my hope. I hope so. That would be a miracle. I ask God that miracle come true. I will work all my life beyond the differences, beyond accusations that I am compelled to make, beyond conspiracies. I will work all my life for a relation of dialogue and respect with the U.S. government.
And governors of the country also held press conference to support President Maduro. The governor of the state of Miranda, Héctor Rodríguez, condemned any act against the Venezuelan constitution and the will of the people which was exercised on election day.
The presidential swearing-in ceremony is the result of our sovereignty that's represented by the Venezuelan people. It's a legitimate process supported by our people, and as a result, President Nicolás Maduro will be sworn in for a second term on January 10, 2019. The electoral process celebrated on May 2018 was exceptional because the people held a massive and democratic participation, even after being a target of a brutal economic war and an international intimidation campaign without precedents. It was exceptional because it had all the transparency guarantees based on strict electoral norms, audits, and inspection systems.
Like this, we can go to a first break here from the South. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Telesur English and my personal account at Laura P. Telesur. Stay with us. Welcome back. Bolivia will investigate members of the government of former President Carlos Mesa, allegedly linked to the Odebrecht scandal. This investigation involves the company Camargo Correa, accused of bribing public officials in return of highway construction contracts. The state prosecutor office says these payments were received by members of Mesa's administration. And the Bolivian government and social movement have risen to the defense of indigenous peoples, who were the targets of racist remarks by the Brazilian lawmaker.
Rodrigo Amorim, a member of the party led by President Jair Bolsonaro, has called for the expulsion of the indigenous community from Brazil. The Brazilian lawmaker has told so-called Indian sympathizers that they could go live in Bolivia if they disagreed with the renewal plans intended for native Brazilian territories. Several social institutions have described Amorim's remarks as racist and disrespectful.
Whether it's in Brazil, in Bolivia, in the continent, this is the level of disrespect and hate they have towards indigenous people. Of course, we are very proud because in Bolivia, indigenous people are the foundation of this plurinational state.
Indigenous communities are also firing a salvo at the Brazilian legislator.
In Brazil, there are 7 million in the Amazon and 255 indigenous towns and more than 100 native languages. Then President Bolsonaro has had 40% of support from Afro-Brazilian and indigenous people.
Foreign Affairs Minister Diego Pari is also strongly condemning the verbal attack on indigenous communities. This while he assures that action will be taken. He says the state is mandated to defend and promote the rights of indigenous people.
Bolivia is a diverse country. Bolivia is a country that respects, acknowledges, and strengthens its indigenous people. And we have to continue strengthening these vulnerable communities because they are the essence of Bolivian plurinationality.
The population is made up more than 50% indigenous people and campesinos. In fact, in 2006, for the first time in history, the indigenous government of Evo Morales was elected into office. He has promoted a new constitution that recognizes its 36 indigenous communities and states, as well as their native language and Spanish.
And Peru's interim Attorney General Zoraida Ábalos has declared a state of emergency in the Attorney General's office. The decision comes on Tuesday when the same day former Attorney General Pedro Chavarri resigned from the post. Ábalos said this measure is meant to recover citizens' trust. She also gave her support to prosecutors investigating the Odebrecht case.
All prosecutors investigating corruption will have my full support. We have a really difficult situation in this institution. So until the National Justice Board is set up, I declare a state of emergency in the State Attorney's office.
Our correspondent in Lima, Jaime Herrera, has the latest details.
Zoraida Ábalos was named interim Attorney General after Pedro Chavarri resigned on Tuesday, and her first decision was to declare a state of emergency in the public ministry. On its part, Congressional is proposing a law to reform the Judiciary and Justice Council. This will determine how magistrates and Supreme Court judges are chosen, as well as the Attorney General. Currently, 3 out of 5 judges, part of the head judges from the Attorney General's office, are being investigated for corruption cases. It's important to mention that President Martín Vizcarra will address the nation regarding the latest events. People are expecting Congress to approve the judiciary's reform. Meanwhile, the Congress's president, Daniel Salaverry, has announced his resignation from the Popular Force Party, citing differences.
And migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border reacted to Trump's speech and expressed worry of the president's attacking them.
We are afraid. We have hope. We don't want to enter illegally. We just want to enter because we have problems. We are also people. And as he said, it makes Trump sad. Well, we are also people who have a history, and we hope that our lives gives him sadness.
And Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has said that promoting development in Mexico and Central America is the best way to confront the migratory crisis gripping the region.
The wall is part of the migratory problem, but we want to solve the migration problem by attacking the causes. What we've proposed has been made very clear. We are persuading and convincing the government of the United States that the best thing is for the development of Central American countries and of Mexico, that there be productive activity and jobs in Central America and in our country, that migration be made optional, not obligatory. That's our stance. But then, there are those who want us to fight. We want to find a relationship that is always friendly with the government of the United States.
In Guyana, the government and the opposition have reached an agreement regarding the no-confidence vote against the ruling coalition. Both parties discussed general and local elections as well as the functioning of the National Assembly and the government. President David Granger provided an update after the one-hour-long meeting between himself and the opposition leader Bharat Jagdeo.
As you know, the government has had legal recourse to the courts in order to determine the validity of the vote in the National Assembly on the 21st of December. This is quite legitimate, and there's no intention on the part of the government to derail the constitutional or legislative process. We have agreed that the two sides will continue to work together to engage GCOM to ensure that elections are held within the administrative capabilities of the Guyana Elections Commission. I would say in conclusion that we've had a successful engagement.
Let's take a second break here. Stay with us, connecting the Global South. And we are back. Cuba's diplomatic mission in Egypt has landed a new measure by the Cuban government, which launched a website for Cubans residents in Egypt and abroad to deliver proposals for the country's new constitution.
We are among the 123 countries around the world that have participated in the process of building a new constitution. Participation in these countries outside Cuba have been very high. There were 2,125 proposals in general. The process will end on the 24th of February, a day when all citizens will vote for the new constitution.
Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu has requested the joint cooperation of Russia and Iran to ensure the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria. During a press conference in Ankara, Cavusoglu said that the withdrawal United States process from Syria should be supervised by Turkey along with Russia and Iran to prevent terrorist organizations from occupying the empty space. He added that the U.S. is having difficulties withdrawing from the Kurdish People's Protection units because they are too committed.
The United States is struggling to leave. It's not so easy to do so after dealing with the terrorist organizations. This is one of the difficulties that the United States is experiencing, but we see that there are different voices coming from different institutions. On the other hand, we want to coordinate this process with the leadership of our Western counterparts, and especially with Russia and Iran, with whom we have worked together since the Astana peace process. We don't want terrorist organizations to gain the benefits of that vacancy.
Riot police have been deployed at the offices of Democratic Republic of Congo's Electoral Commission. The country is anxiously waiting for the results of the vote on December 30th, as the Commission said earlier the results will be announced on Wednesday. The presidential election was meant to lead to the country's first democratic transfer of power in its 59 years of independence.
About these rumors between Felix and Guatemala, we want peace and calm. If Felix has won, then they need to prepare the handover of power in a civilized way. We don't want people to die when they announce the election results, blood to be spilled, because we are fed up. We are tired and we're waiting for a peaceful announcement, which will allow us to rejoice rather than cry because we are fed up.
And Sudanese police have used tear gas to disperse hundreds of angry anti-government protesters in the city of Omdurman. It's the latest in nearly 3 weeks of anti-government protests against economic issues. But demonstrations have now shifted to calls for President Omar al-Bashir to step down. Meanwhile, supporters of President al-Bashir held a rival protest in Khartoum to show their support for the embattled leader. And Malta has allowed a humanitarian ship with 49 migrants on board to dock. This comes after the government reached an agreement with other European Union countries to receive migrants. The migrants have been stranded off the coast of Malta on a boat operated by a German humanitarian organization, Sea Watch, for 3 weeks. And Israeli security forces have carried out raids in the West Bank city of Ramallah and Al-Bireh. For the last few days, Israeli forces have been conducting sporadic raids, sparking some clashes with local residents. Like this, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find more news on our website, telesurenglish.net, where you can find more news, opinion articles, and special interviews. Stay with Telesur, connecting the Global South. Until next time.